By the time you guys watch this video, I'll have spent more than 100 hours surviving in the Dune Awakening beta. Now, during these days and weeks on Arrakis, there is a lot I have learned when it comes to survival, hydration, base building, PvP, weapons abilities, and so much more. And I wanted to share that knowledge with you guys in the form of a handy tips and tricks guide. Now, if there's any particular questions or information you guys are after, you'll be able to check the timestamps in the description down below or scrub along in the video. But with that being said, let's jump into surviving in Dune Awakening. Now, it goes without saying, but one of the first things you'll be doing in Dune Awakening is making your character. Now, you may have heard that there is a house system in this game. You can choose between two different factions at launch, Atreides or Harkonnen, and there's a little bit of confusion. Some people think that if you want to join the Harkonnens, you need to make a sort of Harkonnen-looking character, but that is not the case. Your character's visuals here, the presets that you choose from, your customization that you make, whether you have mutton chops or big arms, small arms, tall character, small character, it doesn't actually make any difference on gameplay. Purely just a representation of yourself in the world of Dune. Now, the next step in character creation is choosing your character's background. Again, you might have some questions about how impactful this is. Basically, this dialogue trait up here will give you extra dialogue options when talking to certain NPCs. I don't believe any of them are particularly stronger than other ones, so just go what feels like the right flavor for you. I like to go with Chusuk, because then you also get an emote as well. So it is worth mentioning you do get a custom emote. We'll talk about how you can take a look at that later on. After this, you get another backstory option between your sort of heritage. So whether you're a merchant, nobility, or a peasant. Again, this is just for flavor and a few extra dialogue options. One is not particularly stronger than the other, so just go for whatever sort of role play you like the most. And then finally, you do have a choice that is fairly impactful to your gameplay here. You choose your class. You have 4 different options here, from Swordmaster all the way down to Trooper. My main advice when it comes here is to not pick Trooper, and that's not because Trooper is bad, that's because you can unlock any class abilities in the game just by playing through and completing quests from trainers. And the Trooper trainer just so happens to be very, very early on in the game. Like within the first hour of playing, you'll talk to the Trooper trainer and be able to unlock the Trooper abilities. So I would strongly recommend choosing Mentat, Bene Gesserit, or the Swordmaster. Swordmaster does get some great mobility to start with knee charge. Mentat has the Sentinel, which is like a turret you can put down, just plays the game for you. And then Bene Gesserit has the voice, which basically disables one person that you're looking at and makes them come towards you. I think the starting ability of knee charge or the starting ability of Sentinel are the best, so I'd personally recommend going with Swordmaster or Mentat, then picking up the Trooper abilities, and then later on down the line, further in the game, you can get all the other abilities as well. Now, quite early on in your journey on Arrakis, you will build a starting base somewhere within the Haga Basin south. Now, my advice when it comes to this base is build small and don't get too overly attached. And the reason behind this is because further on in the main storyline, within like the first couple hours, as you move from the starter area into the next area, the Eastern Vermilius Gap, the game will ask you to open the map and abandon your bases in Haga Basin South. So this base that I have here and this one over here, if I want to continue the main storyline, I'll need to hold down X to abandon base and hold down X to abandon base. Now, one thing that you might want to consider is if you did build something, or if you're like, but I really like that, and I don't want to build it all over again, you can create the Solido replicator. So within research, you have the building section, and then you can make this replicator here at your fabricator. And with that out, you can just point it at your base like so, and I can click copy building. And then I have a replica of the building, and I can place this wherever else I want in the map, provided it's within a subfief. So if we place down a subfief, and then we go ahead and place that down, you can effectively like copy paste your base further up on the top of the map. But yeah, quick tip here, just be aware that again, if we go here, abandon base, yep, definitely get rid of it. It's no longer mine, so the contents now can be claimed by anybody else. And I abandon this base over here again. There we go. Now it's out to anybody else. I should now be able to progress through the main storyline, get more XP, and keep going. So yeah, the game will force you to delete your early base, or at least give it over to the public. But to that extent, if you are going to leave, I would then make sure, to go in, pick up all the machines that I want, loot all of my chests, take everything with me, and maybe even make a copy of the building with the replicator so that I can place it down somewhere else up in the north. Now, while we're on the topic of base building, a few other pieces of wisdom I wanted to share. You might encounter this issue where you are expanding your base, you're adding in new machines, you go ahead and plop one down, And then suddenly everything powers down. You go to the machine and you can't use it. It says no power. But what gives? Your generator has got fuel in it. You know, we still have fuel in here. We'll even add some more fuel into it. But nothing will bring it back up. The reason why this is happening is because you've exceeded your power limit. So if I go to the generator here, general settings, we can see that my circuit power is 75. So this generator is providing 75 power, but each individual machine is sort of contributing to that. So this provides, so this is taking 15, this blood purifier over here, this one's taking 10, so I'm actually 5 power over the limit. Now, there are two ways you can get around this. You can either just place down another generator, or you can temporarily turn off another machine. So if I go to this machine here, and then we go to disabled, now suddenly everything will power back up. So yeah, the quickest or the most viable solution is probably just to put down another generator, but then obviously you'll need to put power packs between both of them and keep those powered up so your base doesn't decay and then get raided. Alternatively, you can just turn on and off machines as you need it. But yeah, you just want to make sure that the circuit power, the number on the right, is bigger than the number on the left. Another factor to consider when it comes to base building in Dune Awakening is your bike. You either want to create a sheltered space, so either bring your bike actually fully into the base or make sure that it is in a covered area, or alternatively just simply pick it up and put it in the vehicle backup tool. One thing that you definitely don't want to do is just sort of leave your bike outside of the front of your house like this, because as sandstorms blow through or other players, they can kind of like shove it along into the middle of the sand and get it eaten by the sandworm. And like I say, when sandstorms blow in, like we have one coming in from somewhere over here right now, I think. Yeah, we got a pretty big sandstorm approaching. This is going to do a huge amount of damage to the bike. In fact, if I just go ahead and show you here, let's take a look at the vehicle. So we're 88%, 88, 100, 188. And then if we let this sandstorm just ravage this bike a little bit, we'll drive it just a little bit further out. There we go. If you just leave it sort of near the base where you think it's going to be safe, it's very much not. There we go. The sandstorm was blown over. Let's just check in to see how my bike's doing. Probably, it was a pretty brief one, so hopefully we're not too damaged. But yeah, we can see we dropped 77, 96, 99, 77. So yeah, the bike did take a bit of damage just by leaving it out there, and it could have been solved just by either driving it into like a garage, or alternatively, honestly, the best way is just to pick it up and put it inside the bike tool. One other thing I want to mention when it comes to base design and where you build on the map is location and what resources are nearby. It is actually kind of important. You know, again, you don't want to build in the open desert. You guys will probably understand that by now because that's where the worm is. So building close to rocks is obviously a good option, but then you also want to consider what's nearby. So where I built my base here, we're very close to the Wreck of Action, which means I can jump in and get some PvP pretty easily if I want, if I'm inclined to get some PvP, maybe steal some stuff off of some other players. There's also lots of fiber nearby me. If I go just around the corner, I think there's quite a few granite nodes as well. Yeah, here we go. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I want to do any base expansion, I've got tons of granite on my doorstep. We have copper, we have iron, and then just behind my base as well, I also have some plants that I can go along with the Dew Reaper and harvest moisture from them as well. So yeah, build a base somewhere, obviously not in the middle of the sands, ideally close to a point of interest so you can go and get some blood pretty easily. If you're interested in PvP, then maybe consider building near one of the PvP wrecks. And yeah, just consider what resources are nearby, because then you can just easily go out and get them. The respawn rate in this game seems to be very, very fast. Whether it will be changed during the release, I'm not entirely sure, but it is just handy to take a look around what's nearby before you just immediately plop that base down. Otherwise, you're just going to have to go quite far out into the desert to other zones. Whereas where I'm at right now, I've got salvage metal, I've got granite, I've got copper, I've got iron, I've got water. I have just like everything right next to the base. It is actually almost like a perfect location in that regard. And one final tip when it comes to building your base, make sure you interact with the Subfief console and set it as your respawn location. I made this mistake several times where I didn't realize I hadn't set it as a respawn location. And then when I die, I either had to respawn at the sort of first beacon that I placed down in the tutorial or the trading post or like some of my earlier bases. Yeah, just make sure that when you build a base, especially if you're journeying farther north, that you do set that as your respawn location. Otherwise, you might find it's quite a long run back to get to where you may have died. Within your first couple hours of playing Dune Awakening, you will arrive at the Griffin's Trade Outpost. Now, while you're here, you'll want to talk to this NPC, Gavori. This is the guy who allows you to unlock the Trooper skill tree line, and you can get the Sugar Wire ability and all the other cool stuff. So definitely talk to this guy and finish his quest. One other thing that the main storyline of the quest will ask you to do while you're here is talk to the tradesman Mir. This guy sells just some, standard stuff. A lot of it's pretty expensive, and if you sell to him, he won't give you a good rate. But one thing that he sells, and it's unique to this guy, is the Hajra Litajon. Now, this is basically a water bottle, and they are really, really good. I didn't initially understand how powerful they are, but now, after you guys have watched the video, you'll understand these are really good, and you should buy as many as you can. I currently have 2 on me right now. I've got another schematic here. The reason why you want to buy multiple schematics is because they are a one-time use. So if I have this schematic here and then I research it, I can now make 1 Litajon. And if I go to my crafting section, or maybe is it in research? I might need to see it from a fabricator actually. No, there we go. You can see I can craft 7 of these. So I've actually bought 7 schematics for this, so I can craft them 7 times. Every schematic allows you to craft 1 more. And like I say, having multiple in the early game, I just think is huge. They can carry so much water. If you get your hydrations getting low on the left side of the screen there, you can just go over to them, hold down F, or you can put them on your hotbar and drink them as well. But they are super handy, super handy. So I strongly recommend that you buy several of those schematics and then learn them. And then when you get a chance, make them at the fabricator. Now, in terms of how do we actually top them up, well, let's move to the next section, shall we? Now, while we're talking about water in Dune Awakening, one of the best tools you can craft early on to help with those hydration issues is the Dew Reaper. Making this will then allow you to go over to plants and harvest moisture from them and store it in a Litajon. So you will need one of those Litajons, as we talked about. The MK1 is honestly super good to get from the starting vendor. And then the other tip to know is that in order to use it, you do have to wait until a certain time of day, and that is after the sun has gone down. Now, ideally, dawn or dusk do seem to be the best times, so just as the sun's setting or just as the sun is rising. But if you go over to the plant, it'll tell you. So we're at a poor harvest time right now, and obviously if you need water, you need the water, and you can find a lot of these all over the place. But yeah, just going over to them and then either holding down the left mouse button or clicking it once and sort of just dragging your character through the area. You will also need a power pack to be able to use this, but again, that seems to be the case for most tools within Dune Awakening. Yeah, pro tip, don't sleep on the Dew Reaper. It is huge. Initially, I didn't really think that this was something I would need, but if you have a Litajon and you have the Dew Reaper, you can take that stuff, you can go your Litajons, put them to a water cistern. In fact, I'll just show you that setup real quick. So here we go. Here's my water storage in my base here. If I just go in and manage, if I go use, and then we can deposit, and I can empty the Litajons into this one. There we go. That one's fully topped up. Go to this one as well, deposit. And then we can go back over to the plants, top back up again, and rinse and repeat. And this is just a great way to get water without needing to do combat or anything else. If you just want to chill, and ideally if you can build a base on top of some of them like I have, then you just have your own garden and you can go and get water. I would say at any time of day, but it does have to be at nighttime. One event that you're going to witness fairly often as you arrive in the eastern and western Vermilius Gap is these sort of ships getting blown out the sky and then landing on the ground. Now, if you're anything like me, your first interaction with them is probably going to be a bit of panic as you're trying to figure out how do you get the loot from them, or what can you do with them before Mr. Sandworm gets you. I'm going to give you guys a live demonstration of how to actually deal with the shipwrecks here. So first of all, we want to make sure that we're clear of worms and we're not going to get caught by one of those mercenary ships. And then we're just going to drive up to the edge here. And you want to be looking at the side of the ship. Now, sometimes it can be on the top, but in my experience, a lot of the time it's just been on the side. We have this lot of side panel here. You will usually need a cutter ray as well. So in this case, we scan it with the cutter ray. We go along the top of it there. And then we can get the loot, and we'll just go ahead and take all. Now, the loot from these can be very impressive sometimes. If you're really lucky, you'll get schematics, other times not so much. And from what I've been told, there are sometimes panels on the other side as well. I think we have the luxury of being able to check the other side before the worm pops up. Yeah, we do have a panel on the other side here as well. Let's go ahead and check that one. Just climbing on my bike. Oh my goodness. And scanning. Can we get this one? No, maybe this isn't actually one here. So yeah, it's worth, I guess, if you have the time to take a look around, but my experience is there's usually just one panel. In that case, that isn't the one there. You'll usually have like the cutter ray icon pop up, but obviously you don't want to spend too much time here, otherwise the worm is going to get you. But yeah, quick tip there, look for a panel that has the cutter ray symbol, be prepared, have a cutter ray with you, scan it, slice it, and then get the loot and get out before the worm gets you. One secret or tip that I've only recently learned about when it comes to Dune Awakening is finding buried treasure in the deserts of Arrakis. So to do this, you will need a scanner, either the handheld resource scanner or a vehicle with the scanner attachment. In this case, I have a bike with the Sandbike Scanner Mark II. And what you can do is basically just drive out into big patches of sand and hit the scan button over and over again until you see something pop up. I'm going to play some footage here because they are like a little bit hit and miss in terms of when you can find them and when you can't. But once you do see the icon, as you see on the screen here, you can take out the static compactor and then shoot it at the ground where you see the icon, and you'll get this sort of lightning that comes out, and then a package will pop up and you can get loot out of it. Sometimes the stuff that comes out of this can be very handy, but yeah, if you guys just happen to be driving along the desert or ever you're just near some sort of open sand, hit it with the scanner and see if there's anything nearby. You'll be surprised at what can come out. Obviously, make sure you have the static compactor to loot it though. And the final tip I wanted to give you guys for this video involves surviving the worm. If you find yourself in the terrifying position where you are being pursued in the sands and you're on a sand bike, it is actually possible to escape with your life and simply just offer the sandworm your bike instead. The reason why this works is because the sandworm follows vibrations, so if you are speeding along on a bike and you jump off, the bike will make a lot more vibrations than you do, or a lot more sound, and the worm will follow the bike. Now there is a little bit of timing to this. I've tried it a few times, and sometimes I have just gotten myself eaten by the worm. And honestly, my best advice is, you know, if you're in this situation, just try and drive towards some rocks anyway, but yeah, if you guys do find yourself in a spot where the worm is going to get you, you can actually jump off the bike. You need to do it fairly early on, and then the worm will continue to follow the bike, eat that, and you'll actually be able to make it out. However, if you're out in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, then you're now going to have to run on foot, and the worm is likely going to get you on your second time. So you do need to be somewhat close to rocks, but yeah, just as a tip, if you're on the bike and the worm's going to get you, it's going to get you on the bike anyway, so you may as well try this and see if it works, where if you jump off the bike and then have the worm eat that instead of you. Again, if you're close to rocks, just drive for the rocks, but this strategy might come in handy for those of you who don't think you're quite going to make it and you just want to offer Shai-Hulud something instead of your body. And friends, that's where we're going to wrap up this video. There are many more tips and tricks I could give when it comes to surviving on Arrakis and playing Dune Awakening, but this one I wanted to focus more on the early game, since that's where, you know, when we release this video, that's probably going to be the most appropriate part of the game for you guys to focus on. If there's any other tips or wisdom that you would like to share with your fellow players, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you have any other questions on Dune Awakening, you want to see some more gameplay, you can come chat with me live on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming lots and lots of Dune Awakening during the release period, so check out the link in the description down below. You might even have some space for people to come join us on our server and in our guild. If you want any more Dune Awakening content, I do plan to release many more guides and builds here on the channel, so subscribe for those, like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.